Tight contest in Worcester sees ball dominate bat. Worcestershire have Mo and Ali to thank for their place in finals day at Edgbaston, the England all-rounder having rediscovered his form after being dropped from the test side midway through the Ashes series. He'd have to play well if his side were to hold hopes of stopping Glamorgan pressing home their case for the third promotion position. They sit just 5 points behind third place Northants, and a win here and the right result in Leicester could see them move up the table. With that in mind, the visitors took their opportunity to bowl first. That decision was vindicated, as despite a watchful start, Rutherford was removed, Hogan finding the openers off stump. That brought Ali to the crease, and he and Mitchell guided the side past 50. But he'd be unable to follow up his T20 heroics with another crucial knock, edging Van der Hoogten to Selman at third slip to depart for 18. Worcestershire dug in until lunch, reaching the interval at 74 for 2, honours even after the first session. Hogan would roar back into the attack after the resumption of play, opener Mitchell finally removed for 36, edging through to Cook. They'd bring up the 100, but lose a wicket soon after, Carey this time finding Milton's edge, Cook once again taking the catch. Van der Hoogten had Haynes trapped LBW, no shot offered. Cox and Vessel stuck together and the score crept towards 150. Cox would go cheaply though. Another man LBW to Van der Hoogten. Vessels was playing well and found his way into the 40s as he was joined by Barnard, but the Australian couldn't reach 50, smacking Smith to Patel at mid-off, who held on well. Smith had another soon after, Leach missing an on-drive and given out LBW. They'd reach tea at 186 for 8, Glamorgan the happier of the two sides with 6 wickets in the session, and their hosts wobbling as they approached 200. Charlie Morris would be the first man to fall in the final session, bowled by Hogan for 9, Worcestershire just 1 run short of 200. They'd reach the figure, but not get much more. Adam Finch caught at first slip for Hogan's 4th of the day. Glamorgan would hope they could get off to a good start, but they'd lose wickets early on. Selman would fall to Morris, caught by Mitchell at second slip to go for 6. And then Cullen was caught behind off the bowling of Barnard with just 10 to his name. Glamorgan would recover to 44 for 2 when Stumps was called, but neither team are really in the ascendancy here, with it all to play for heading into the second day. Worcestershire openers Mitchell and Morgan hit 50s to put Pears in the driving seat. Like so many others across the country, this is a match that has been moving at breakneck speed. Worcestershire's first innings total of 205 hadn't looked the best return on their innings, but quick Glamorgan wickets in the dying embers of the first day had seen momentum swing towards the home side. They had the opportunity to exploit the conditions and see Glamorgan skittled for a low total when play resumed on day 2. And when the visitors returned to the middle to resume their innings, the Pears immediately set about taking control. Brathwaite would depart, caught behind for 19 off the bowling of Morris. He'd pick up the next wicket too, Billy Root caught by Barnard for 8. A few overs later and Patel was gone too, Adam Finch seeing him caught at fine leg for 5. David Lloyd had stuck around for Glamorgan and scored the bulk of his side's runs so far, but he'd fall to Mo and Ali, the England all-rounder taking the return catch off of his own bowling. Cook and Smith managed to steer their side past 3 figures. Joe Leach brought that period of calm to an end, Cook edging to Vessels at first slip. Glamorgan limped through to lunch at 131 for 7, Worcestershire well on top. They'd find another wicket after lunch, Smith bowled for Morris 4th of the innings. Carey and Van der Hoogten would provide the resistance Glamorgan had been looking for all day, but Carey would fall to Ali, caught by Milton at cover. When Hogan was finally removed to bring the Glamorgan innings to an end, they'd managed to reach 193 all out, just 12 runs short of their hosts' total. The Pears had managed to restrict Glamorgan throughout much of their innings, but a late rally from the tail had seen the Welsh side recover somewhat to keep their hosts within touching distance. Mitchell and Rutherford would quickly extend that lead, 43 runs added to the total after just 10 overs. Rutherford was scoring at a runner ball. He'd fall with 52 to his name, Smith finding an edge through to Brathwaite to remove the danger man. Ali and Mitchell would guide the side through to tee without incident, the score 86 for 1, the lead 98. The pair saw the side to 3 figures, but that's where the partnership would end. Moeen caught by Hogan off the bowling of Samit Patel. But Jack Haynes proved to be a more than capable partner for Mitchell, sticking with the opener as the score continued to rise. Mitchell batted his way to a 50, with shadows lengthening across the Worcester wicket. They'd reached stumps in control at 153 for 2, leading by 165. Worcestershire had Messrs Morris, Rutherford and Mitchell to thank for their advantageous position heading into the third day of play. A fiver from Morris and 50s from the 2 opening batsmen had ensured the Pears are in charge, with 2 days left to play. Glamorgan collapsed under Worcestershire pressure to dent promotion hopes. 50s from Worcestershire openers Rutherford and Mitchell had helped their side to 143 for 2 when stumps was called on day 2, after the Pears bowling unit had restricted Glamorgan to 193 earlier in the day. There was still work to do for the home side, as they looked to set their visitors an imposing target. That would initially be the responsibility of Haynes and Mitchell, the pair resuming the Worcestershire innings. They moved past 150 as Glamorgan sought early wickets. And the Welsh side would find the breakthrough they were looking for, with the Pears still short of the 200 mark, Patel trapping Haynes LBW for a well-made 31. He'd find turn and bounce to clip Milton's glove, and Cook held on to the catch at the second attempt. Ricky Vessels stuck with Mitchell to see the side past 200, but he'd have to do it without Vessels, pinned LBW by Hogan for a quick-fire 31 off 38. Van der Hookten disappeared to the boundary as Mitchell moved to within 1 run of his century with 3 consecutive 4s. But he'd lose another partner before reaching his 100. Cox caught behind off Hogan without scoring. Mitchell would finally reach his century with another boundary off Van der Hookten, and the pair would reach lunch with Worcestershire 262 for 6, leading by 284, Mitchell on a Nelson. But it would be Barnard who fell after the interval, caught and bowled by Van der Hookten for 6. He'd also remove Leach, caught at mid-wicket by sub-fielder Graham Wagg. Patel had his 4th of the innings not long after, Morris gifting him a wicket as he chopped a wide one onto his off stump. The innings would come to an end with just 1 more run added. A moment of hesitation exploited by Cullen, running out Mitchell for 139. Worcestershire all out for 299. The target for Glamorgan, 312. The chase would not get off to the best start. Just 2 balls in, Leach had Selman caught at second slip without scoring. Brathwaite departed in the first over as well, run out without facing. Glamorgan at least had some runs on the board when Leach picked up his second. Cullen bowled for 3. Then Ed Barnard joined in the fun. Lloyd bowled round his legs for 29, with the visitors still shy of 50. He'd pick up the wicket of Patel soon after, LBW for 7, Glamorgan reeling as they limped to the refuge of T at 69 for 5. Billy Root and Chris Cook would provide a bit of steel to the innings, resisting the Worcestershire bowlers as play resumed for the evening session. The partnership wouldn't make it to 3 figures. Root removed by Morris, caught by Barnard. He'd have another in the over. Smith trapped LBW for 4. Finch came into the attack and struck with the first ball of his spell. Van der Hookten caught by Ali for 13. And Moeen would pick up a wicket of his own to leave Glamorgan teetering on the precipice. Cook bowled through the gate. Carey was the last man to go. Ali again with the wicket. Barnard with the catch. And Glamorgan beaten. Worcestershire winning the match by 155 runs. It had been the scoreboard pressure inflicted by an impressive Pears start, was a done for Glamorgan. Even with a day left to play, the Worcestershire bowlers had been clinical in their work and put the visitors under pressure from the very first ball through to the last. There had been moments to savour for Glamorgan, Hogan once again proving he was evergreen, but ultimately they couldn't deal with the pressure created by Worcestershire's bowlers.